Andrew Jackson, 7th President of the United States, was born March 15, 1767, in Waxhaw, South Carolina. He fought in the Revolutionary War as a boy and later studied law. He moved to Nashville, Tennessee in 1788, where he met Rachel Donaldson Roberts. The two officially married in 1794. After serving as Tennessee Senator, he won fame as a Major General in the War of 1812 and his triumph in New Orleans. In 1818, he led an army in pursuit of Seminole Indians into Spanish Florida. When Spain seceded, he served as territorial governor, then as senator representative of Tennessee from 1823 to 1825. In 1824, Jackson ran for president against John Quincy Adams. With the help of recently out of the game Henry Clay, Adams won the election. In 1828, Jackson ran again against Adams, going for a second term, but won the majority of 178 electoral votes, leaving Adams with 83. On March 4, 1829, the inauguration of Andrew Jackson took place. One of Jackson's first acts as president was to pass the Indian Removal Act, moving Indian tribes to the lands west of the Mississippi River.
The Native Americans. Much of Jackson's reputation there was based on killing them, so it's no surprise that he supported southern states' efforts to appropriate Indian lands and make the Indians move. This support was formalized in the Indian Removal Act of 1830, which Jackson supported. The law provided funds to relocate Cherokees, Chickasaws, Choctaws, Creek, and Seminole Indians from their homes in Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, Mississippi, and Alabama. In response, these tribes adopted a novel approach and sued the government. And then the Supreme Court ruled that Georgia's actions in removing the Cherokees violated their treaties with the federal government and that they had a right to their land, to which Jackson supposedly responded by saying, "John Marshall has made his decision, now let him enforce it." So Jackson set the stage for the forced removal of the Cherokees from Georgia to Oklahoma, but it actually took place in the winter of 1838-1839 under Jackson's successor, Van Buren. At least 1/4 of the 18,000 Indians died on the forced march that came to be known as the Trail of Tears.
On July 10th, just months after his inauguration, Jackson vetoed the bank bill that would have renewed the character for the Second Bank of the United States. It was his most definitive act as president. In 1832, Jackson ran for president again. He won his second term in office with 219 electoral votes. Later that year, Jackson issued the Nullification Proclamation. This stated that states are forbidden from nullifying federal law. Earlier in 1828, Congress passed a high protective tariff that angered the southern states because they felt it only benefited the North.
The tariff raised prices on imported manufactured goods made of wool and iron, which enraged South Carolina because they'd put all their money into slavery and none into industry. So unlike Northerners, who could avoid the higher prices by manufacturing sweaters and pants and such at home, South Carolinians would have to pay more. They were so angry at this tariff of abominations that the South Carolina legislature threatened to nullify it. Jackson didn't take kindly to this affront to federal power, but South Carolina persisted, and when Congress passed a new tariff in 1832, one that actually lowered the duties, the Palmetto State's government nullified it. Jackson responded by getting Congress to pass the Force Act, which authorized him to use the Army and Navy to collect taxes. A full-blown crisis was averted when Congress passed a new tariff in 1833 and South Carolina relented. This smelled a bit of dictatorship, armed tax collectors and all, and helped to cement Jackson's reputation as a tyrant, at least among the Whigs.
After his presidency, Jackson went to retirement at the Hermitage. However, he found that he could not let go of politics. Martin Van Buren, Jackson's hand-picked successor as president, was overwhelmed with Jackson's advice and warnings over his term as president. In 1840, he went to New Orleans for a 25th anniversary celebration of his great triumph. Jealous of his reputation, Jackson spent most of his time arranging papers for Amos Kendall's projected biography. Eventually, the weight of age and illness bore down on Jackson. His health had not been well for many years, yet he had recovered so many times that his friends half questioned his mortality. But Jackson knew better. He had long anticipated death and faced it without fear. He died at the Hermitage on June 8, 1845. Surrounded by family and friends, he was buried in his garden next to Rachel.